welcome to this episode of the Peace and Possibilities podcast. I'm here with Chung, and Chuck and I met when I was delivering a workshop on the importance of great connections. And at the end of the workshop, I was given some tips on how to connect with people well. And it was so fun because when I got done with the presentation, Chuck, was waiting to talk to me, and he said, "Hi, Julie." And the first thing he said was so positive, like, "This is what happened to me. Would you love to hear more about it?" It was like he wanted to share his story. And just the way you approached me, Chuck, in that moment, instead of just coming to me with a problem, which we had talked about in the workshop, you came to me with a solution and something exciting that you wanted to share. And that was appealing to me, and I wanted to learn more. You did a great job of that. And I just wanted to compliment you on that, and it made me want to hear more about your story. So we're here to talk about your really interesting story about how you got to where you are today in your life. And you had a tragedy early on. And so I wanted you to share a little bit about your accident and how you recovered and how you became this successful person who faces challenges and overcomes them with a great attitude, which is how I would kind of sum you up, even though I don't really know you that well. So welcome.
Thank you, and I appreciate you inviting me to the podcast and getting a chance to interview me and actually share my story, because this is something I've been wanting to do for a long time.
Awesome. Good. Well, let's start with your story, the story you wanted to tell me and talk about. What happened to you and how old were you?
Okay, yeah, so we'll start, so like Julie had mentioned, when I approached her and said hi, the first thing I said is, "Hey, you know what? I'm a walking medical case study. You want to know why? You like to learn a little bit more? I think that's a great start, because definitely sparks some interest, and people wonder, kind of scratch your heads. Oh yeah, okay, like to learn a little bit more. So,
I think,
the reason why.
Just to interrupt real quick, I think the word you used, Chuck, if I'm remembering, is miracle. And I thought that I think you said I'm a walking medical miracle. And I think that's what you said. And that's what drew me, like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean you're a miracle? So go ahead.
No, that could be, I don't remember.
Yeah.
I am a walking miracle. I think that most people, once they hear my story, would probably agree.
Mm-hmm.
So my story is that the reason why I'm the walking miracle that I am is when I was at the University of Michigan pursuing my mechanical engineering degree, at the end of my sophomore year, which would have been in the March of '98, I was involved in a really bad accident where I actually suffered a TBI. So what that is a traumatic brain injury. And it put me in a coma, put me in coma for a month. And I know that when I was in the hospital, the doctors actually thought that I would never come out of the coma. And if I did, they didn't think I would ever walk again. And they thought that I would only be able to speak Korean, because that was my first language.
Wow.
But I was able to do all three. I came out of the coma. I was able to walk. I couldn't walk initially. I had to teach myself how to walk. I remember walking against the walls a lot in the hospital and having to kind of retrain my legs to work again. And obviously I am speaking English, so I didn't only speak Korean, and that wasn't the only language I knew. And so in the March '98, that was the accident. And so figure if I was in the coma for a month, figure that in April I was coming out of the coma. And I don't know how long I was in the hospital, because I don't remember that. I know that they wouldn't let me leave the hospital. And I remember being in a wheelchair for a while and just struggling a lot and learning how to walk again. And I can't tell you how long that took me, but I was able to, once I was able to walk, I know eventually they did release me out of the hospital. And I went to a couple of physical therapy sessions afterwards at the hospital. But by the time it was the next semester at U of M, I actually went back to school, because U of M starts the first day after Labor Day.
Okay, so hold on one second. I have a quick question. They said you're not going to walk. You're probably only going to speak Korean. basically you're going to be kind of useless, is what they were telling you when you get out of this coma, or they told your family. When you woke up, and did they say, okay, don't even bother with trying these things because they're not going to work, or did they say, well, you could try them, but you're probably not going to be successful? Like who in your family or who around you was like, let's try therapy, or let's try? Did the doctors do that, or did you just know, I'm going to try this?
I don't remember, Julie. I don't remember if they told me that because I don't really remember coming out of the coma very
Okay.
much. I just I just remember that I was determined to walk and
Okay.
I was gonna do it. I'm sure that I had people motivating me and telling me things, but
Mhm.
to be honest with you, when I had first come out of the coma, I was bedridden, I don't know what kind of feedback I was getting then.
Okay. Okay, this is so fascinating. Okay, so go ahead. So now it's the fall of that following of 98, and you're going to go back to, so this accident was in March, and you're come out of your coma in April, and in September you think you're going to go back to the University of Michigan?
Yeah, yeah. I was determined to go back to school and finish my degree and just get back into things. So I went back to school that following semester. So in September, so after 6 months, I was back at school. I know that the doctors had recommended I take some more time off to heal and
Mhm.
kind of get back on my feet with everything, but I just really wanted to get back into school, so I went back.
Wow.
And looking back on it, I probably, it might have made more sense to take a little bit more time off and kind of get readjusted to things because things are different at this point for sure.
Hmm.
But, I think that going back earlier just made things a little bit harder, but I was still able to accomplish everything I did. I think waiting a year, I don't know how much difference it would have made, going through a little bit more PT and going through letting my body heal a little bit more. Because I'm sure that when I was at school, I was still healing,
Hmm.
and I don't know, I don't know if it helped me get through and accelerate things or if it slowed things down, things like that. I'm not sure, but I think the most important thing is that I was able to go back, and I did go back, and even after missing a semester, essentially, because the accident was right at the end of my sophomore year. So I
Hmm.
missed all those classes I was taking, the 16 credit hour, the 4 classes or whatever it was. I didn't get credit for any of those because I had missed all my finals.
Right.
And the professors work with me, and they let me read, take the finals to see, if, which ones I could pass and get credit for. And I think that I was only able to get credit for one of the classes, maybe. I'm trying to remember. I'm not really sure because I haven't really looked at my transcript and things like
Yeah.
that in a long time. But I know that I think I did get credit for a class, maybe. But I did end up taking one math class during the summer just to kind of make up for what I missed.
Hmm.
But even after that and missing, being off for a semester, I actually graduated that following December. So I graduated in December of 99. So I was
You
able to,
graduated early? I thought you graduated in 4 years. You graduated early?
yeah, so I was off cycle. I graduated a semester early. So I was able to finish my
Wow.
engineering degree in 3.5 years.
And basically more like three, because you didn't even have that last, March, April, May, or whatever accident that sophomore year. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that. That's what. How do you? How did you do that? How did you do that while you were recovering and healing? And how did you? Because people that are fully healthy and have everything going for them have a hard time graduating in 4 year college in 4 years. How did you do it?
I think what it was is, I just the determination I had a lot of support from friends, but the most important thing I think that I had was hope. I had
Mm.
some hope that I was going to get through this, and I was going to get my degree, and I was going to persevere because, even if you have all the support and all the help you have, if you don't have that little bit of hope in you, thinking you're going to get through all this, whatever you have on the outside really doesn't matter. And
Hmm.
you're not going to get through whatever you have to, whatever adversity you're facing, the hardships, whatever. If you don't have the inner hope, thinking, oh yeah, I'm gonna be able to do this, I'm gonna get through this, it's gonna be okay, nothing's going to work out. So what I tell people is, even if whatever hardship you have and all the struggles you're going through, as long as you have a little bit of hope, it's all you need to get through what you're getting through, what you're going through.
Mm. Oh my gosh, you're right. It doesn't really take a lot. It just takes that mindset of I can do it. I can just keep doing it no matter how long it's going to take or how much effort it's going to take, knowing that you can do it or having someone around you. So if you don't have someone around you telling you that, then then it has to be internal. It sounds like you may have had some good support around you, but it was your mindset that was really the most important thing. You knew it. You knew that you could do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if I didn't have that mindset and I didn't have that hope, then even if I had all the support in the world, it probably wouldn't have worked out because I was already defeated at that point then.
Yeah, it's a good point. Wow. Oh my gosh. Okay, so you got a mechanical engineering degree. Did you change what you wanted to do between your accident and when you graduated, or you said, I'm still going to get this degree and now I want to do something else? Did it open your eyes to more opportunities in the world, or did you say like, wow, I'm glad to be alive. I'm going to do this instead? What happened after you graduated?
So I kept with the same degree, stayed with the MA degree, and the thing it did change is it did kind of open my eyes, and I had a whole new appreciation for life at that point, and I looked at things differently. So I was definitely more cautious, and I just appreciated things more. But even after the accident, after getting my degree, I actually went and I worked as a consultant for a little over a year, and then I went back to school. I went back and for my MBA after that, and I went to get my MBA, and I did a focus in operations management and finance. So I would say that it's, even though even with being able to graduate a little early with my MA degree, and then went back and got my MBA with just a little over a year's worth of work experience. I know a lot of times people that go into business, they say you should have 2 years, things like that. So
Yeah.
I was able to definitely do that. So I think that if you just look at my academic accomplishments, it's pretty amazing for having going through a TBI. And I don't know what the statistics are, things like that, but
I was just thinking
probably,
that. Probably low.
yeah, probably pretty low on someone that's actually suffered a TBI, been in a coma for a month, but then after all that, actually be able to come out of that, finish an engineering degree, and go and get a master's degree. Probably pretty low on people who have done that.
Yeah, I would say so. Unbelievable. You're an inspiration. All right, so what do you think, so you wanted to do, your degrees in mechanical engineering, then you went to get your MBA. Did you, you knew, okay, I want to study business and I have this engineering degree. And then you knew exactly the kind of work you wanted to do, or once you were in school, you were like, did it change at all? Or did you think, I'm just going to keep going for this engineering degree and I'll have this business degree to help me through the MBA? What was your thought process with that?
Yeah, so when I was in school, I wasn't really sure exactly what I wanted to do for my career because it was still early. I was still trying to figure things out. And really, where I kind of started figuring out, my path and what I wanted to do is when I was working as a consultant. Because what I was doing a lot of SPC analysis for automotive companies, primarily at the time it was Chrysler, but it was when they had merged with Daimler Benz. And I was doing a lot of SPC analysis and looking at processes, trying to eliminate waste, things like that, optimize things. And that really sparked my interest in that. And the reason why I decided to go back to school and get my MBA is I wanted to, take my engineering background and that skill set and kind of broaden that into more of a business operations type of environment. So I
Okay.
can figure out how, I wanted to go back to school to learn more about how, companies work from a big picture standpoint from 30,000 feet versus 10,000 feet. And then I definitely wanted to marry that with finance because, having it's good to know, how the business works, but it's good to have a financial acumen behind it so you can kind of, understand how, different investments work and how you want to make sure that you're making the right decisions financially too, not just operationally.
Yeah, of course, of course. So do you, it's crazy that, did you notice that when you were finishing your degree at University of Michigan and then in your MBA, did you notice that it almost sounds like you didn't even miss a beat as far as your academics goes. And did you notice while you were studying that anything was different with you, or did you seem more focused, or did you, it was like, were there any surprises along the way when you were actually trying to complete all that and it was going so well? With your
Well, so
accident?
yeah, so I don't know if it was going. I would say it was going really well when I went back to school because it was definitely a tough. It was really hard for me to grasp and comprehend some of the concepts when
Mm,
I was going back in the school. Going back to the classes because it's hard for me to really do a comparison like a pre and post because in some ways I don't know. I can't really say with much confidence how easy some of the classes might have been before the accident
okay.
and what it was after.
Yeah.
But I do know that, when I did go back to school and I got back into the classes, it it was they were tough. They were challenging. And I'm sure, being at U of M and engineering, the classes are going to be challenging.
Of course.
So it's I like to say that it was probably easier for me before the accident and then right after because I was still kind of healing and going through everything I was. It was tougher, but so I would say that probably the biggest difference between before and after is that it seemed like it took longer for me to actually start grasping some of the concepts that I was actually learning in school.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay. So, what would you say as far as, if you think about what was keeping you motivated? I mean, obviously you had to be, if you couldn't have been miserable, because if you were miserable, you probably wouldn't have been able to achieve what you were achieving. So what was helping you along the way to be grateful for what you were doing and happy along the way and still living your life and working hard and studying and all of that? What do you think helped you the most to overcome things being a little bit harder all that time? What were some of your strengths or traits that were helping you persevere, like you said?
I think the biggest thing was just that inner drive and that hope because I it was I was very depressed for a long time and it was really hard because I did go through a bout of depression because I was going through it was difficult for me to pass the classes. My grades weren't as good as they should have been
Hmm.
and my body wasn't really what it was and what I was at before because one of the things I think that did help me out is that I was in pretty good shape physically and I try to take good care of my body and I think that definitely kind of helped me heal a little bit quicker in some ways. But I would say that that one thing that really helped me get through all this was just the hope because if I didn't think I was gonna even have a chance of getting my degree or had no hope at all, I'm sure I would have quit. And as much as I hate to say it, I may have done some very drastic things. I don't know because I did. I was very depressed for a long time initially, right after.
I'm sure it was,
It's
and I bet if you had to, I don't know really anything about traumatic brain injuries, but I can imagine that just the healing itself, forget about even trying to go back to normal or school or work or anything. I would imagine that just the healing of your brain would tend to make you, it's almost like your brain has to take um, effort from other things to focus on healing the things that need to be healed inside your head. And I would imagine that depression is probably a common thing because, like your body went through this physical trauma and now the mental trauma. And obviously the brain is connected to all of that. So I can't even imagine how hard that must have been to say, to feel that way and then still say, okay, well, I'm still going to go for these things. I mean, it's incredible what you've accomplished. I don't know how close you are to your family or how much how many of your friends know this. I mean, I know this happened to you in your early 20s, but there's people out there that have, like I said, everything going for them and everything from the outside, the opportunities, and still don't do what you've done and have accomplished what you've accomplished, and still in even a short amount of time that you did it. I What do people say that are close to you? Like, they knew you could do it all along, or do they say we were worried about you, or we're not surprised? What do people say?
So, I know that I had a lot of support, and the one bad, I don't want to say it's bad, but the one thing about a TBI or even any like mental health, things like that, is it's not something you can see. So if someone is suffering mentally, or if they had a brain injury, whatever, they don't they they don't see, you're not in a cast, you're not on crutches or something like that.
Hmm.
It's not something they see. So it's something that I guess I would say it's not a lot of people really understand what's going on and how hard it may be for you because they can't really see it.
Hmm.
But I know that, a lot of my friends were supportive, and I don't know if they thought that, oh yeah, he's gonna do this, or if they were really surprised when I did walk, when I did, or things like that. But I do have a good friend that was with me at school. He wasn't in engineering, but he was going the medical route, and he's actually a doctor now.
Hmm.
And he said that he really didn't understand what I was going through when we were in school. But now, after going through med school and actually meeting someone that had gone through a TBI similar to me, that he kind of grasps it more now, and he just says it's amazing what I did, because knowing what he knows now, he says, like, I can't believe he did what he did, because the one friend that he knows that had another TBI, you can kind of tell he did have, he had a brain
Hmm.
injury, and things are different for him now, and he didn't recover anywhere near as well as I did. And it's
Just, that's amazing. It just goes to show you how powerful that your thinking is, because, like you said, this person who's studying medicine, he didn't probably, he's in his 20s too. I mean, no other college student will probably relate to what you were going through, obviously, because at that age you're focused, you're into your mission, and you're kind of in a selfish role, only because you're a young kid and you're at school, and you have one goal, and it's to finish college, and everyone's just kind of thinking along that same path. And this person, this friend of yours, goes to medical school, comes back and says, oh my gosh, now that I know what I know, and what 20-year-old wouldn't feel like that, now that I know what I know, holy cow, what you accomplished was amazing. And I think that it's such a tribute to taking what you had and saying, I'm going to do it anyways, taking that hope and that determination and persevering and saying, depressed or not, you just kept thinking in the back of your head, I'm going to do this. I still have hope that I can do this. And that it's just so powerful, and people don't realize it. How much that thinking negatively impedes your success, and thinking positively actually gets you to places like you went, which is accomplishing miracles after something tragic happened to you. It's just your mindset is just so unbelievably powerful. And you are a walking miracle example of that, for sure.
yeah.
Amazing.
I think that that's a great way to summarize that and kind of talk about it. And that's why I really wanted to share the story that I have, because I know there's a lot of people out there that are, they're going through tough times, and, different hardships, things like that. And, I just want them to know that, as long as you have a little bit of hope, you're going to be okay. You can get through it. But that's what you need. You need some hope, because, no matter how hard you think it really is, and, all the things that are kind of up against you, if you have that hope and you just keep, driving through, and, just pushing along, you'll get through it.
It's awesome. Well said. That's awesome. You are an inspiration, Chuck. I'm really glad I met you that day, and I'm glad that you had the courage to just come up to me and say, I'm a walking medical miracle. Or, do you want to hear my story? Who wouldn't want to? That's a great way of saying it.
Yeah,
Who, who
and I'm
says
glad
no
you
to
were there,
that?
and I'm glad you gave me the chance to share my story, because this is something I've been really wanting to do for a long time, but I'm just not, I guess I'm not smart enough to really figure out a good way to do it till now.
I wouldn't say you're not smart enough. I was saying you probably just didn't know that there was an opportunity, or you didn't know how you were going to do it. And I just happened to be there that day. And the funny thing too is, I don't even know if that day when I was doing it, I think I already did have this podcast. I can't remember, but this podcast idea came to me over the summer. Anyway, this was not even part of something that I was going to launch with my business. It was just a side thing. Like, I'm going to start asking people some questions and talking to them. And I think it'll be interesting to record it. It wasn't even it's kind of funny how things happen like that, but sometimes you just hear a spark of something. I think sometimes, all the time throughout your day. That's why I think you should be paying close attention. You'll get this inkling, or you'll meet this one person that says one thing to you. You might not ever even see them again, but all of a sudden now you have a new idea in your mind. And if it didn't happen with me, it could happen with someone else, simply because you heard something that day that inspired you or made you want to say it, or think it, and then eventually you would have been able to share it some way. And hopefully, I know that people are going to hear this story and want to learn more about it and talk to you. So if people, are you comfortable with people contacting you if they want to learn more about this or talk to you about it, and it happens to touch someone that actually has something, has that in common with you? Are you happy to talk to them more?
Yeah, no, absolutely. For sure, I would be happy to talk to anyone that wanted to learn more about it or had questions or just wanted to talk to me. I definitely
Cool.
welcome something like that.
How would you like them to reach out to you? Through LinkedIn?
Yeah, they can do LinkedIn, or that's probably the easiest way to do that is
Okay.
through LinkedIn. And so, but my LinkedIn profile is under it's not under Chuck Chung, it's under Charles Chung.
Okay. I'll share that information on the podcast notes, so they can find you if they like. Thank you for sharing your story, Chuck. You're an inspiration. I have college age kids now, and it's just to be able to help them along their journeys and help them figure out what's good, how they can work hard and accomplish things. And then just to know that there are people like you out there that did it even after something so traumatic as a brain injury, and still be able to accomplish great things is a miracle. And it just means, like, no one ever really has an excuse not to get what they want in life. At the end of the day, not everyone's given the same opportunities, but everyone can control how they think about things, right?
Right, right. And it's amazing how much potential everyone really has. A lot of people don't realize how much they have, but everyone has it.
Mhm.
It's
For sure. Everyone does have potential, and it's just believing it yourself. And if you don't have people around you that believe it for you, believing it yourself, or finding people that believe in you, I think that's a big component too. So having it yourself, or finding people that look at you and say, yeah, you can do it too.
right, right.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Yeah, thank you for having me on and giving me a chance to share the story and, letting everyone know that, everyone's favorite four-letter word should really be hope.
Awesome. I
It's,
love it. It's one of my favorite words. Well said. Thank you, Chuck.
you're very welcome. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
You're welcome. Bye for now, you guys. Thanks for listening. If you love this content, please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or whichever platform you found us on. You can get all my social media links in the description below. Help us keep the momentum going so that every person can